All right, folks. Well, thank you very much for having me. This is an amazing thing that we do, this ability to tell stories and share what we see, what we feel, our reactions, and impact people. I think we all do this because we feel a little bit of the magic. When we pull up the camera and look through the viewfinder and something happens inside, that magic is real. And the amazing part of that magic is when we can share it with somebody else. So I always like to think that there's three things that really excite me about photography. And one is when I see a story through the viewfinder. The second used to be when I see the slides on the light table, but now it's much quicker. Now it's when I chimp on the back of the camera. And the third is when somebody else reacts to it. To have somebody emotionally react to your images is really, really powerful, and it's a real privilege. So this whole thing is a grand addiction, and something I think we'll keep doing for a long time. So how did I get here? Well, first off, I'm going to talk a little bit about that question and answer thing. Is Kip, you may have heard me talk before, but I won't ask for questions at the end. How many of you have sat through a program and a presentation where the presenter gave their heart and soul for, however long, and at the very end, are there any questions? And you get the same silence I'm getting right now. Okay. Actually, it's quite better because I'm seeing some laughter. It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the presenter, and it's embarrassing for me in the audience because I'm going, God, I should ask something. So what I like to do is ask the question as it occurs. Keep it within the subject, and then we'll kind of see where we go. I've never had one really fly off the topic too much, and it's always quite fun. But the one thing I do ask is if it's a story about gear, or a story about an experience, or something that you want to share personally. Well, let's save that for the break. That's not really a question. So keep the questions to kind of the subject matter. So how did I get here? And there are going to be some times tonight that I hope you're going to go, what is he talking about? Kind of a moment. Well, I'm here. I kind of blame it on the wind, on the north wind. And thank you, Michelle. What is that? Well, I grew up on a farm near Sacramento. And by the time I was 12, my dad and uncle put me on a tractor. And so I spent all my weekends and all summers driving up and down, hot, dusty, noisy, tired, for the longest time, 50 cents an hour. But every once in a while, especially in the winter, a north wind would come through the whole valley, clean out the entire valley. I could look to the east and see Pyramid Peak and the crest of the Sierra. I could look north and see the Sutter Buttes. I could see the green hills of the Coast Range and Mount Diablo. And sitting on that tractor, seeing that, made me realize that I wanted to see what was on the other side of the Crystal Range, the other side of the Buttes. So kind of been chasing that north wind ever since. So first off, we're going to talk tonight about landscaping or nature, how to create images. And I mentioned to Michelle earlier that really what we talk about in any genre applies to all genres. Tim Meyer's studio lighting classes and posing classes have been a huge help for my landscape work. The architecture classes I've taken have helped my landscape work. When I do a portrait in my garage, that also helps my landscape work. And I think my landscape work helps my portrait work. We're all telling stories. We're all working on creating images that resonate with people. And to do that, it's all about the story of the image. So first off, I want you all to close your eyes and take yourself somewhere. Now, there's a bunch of you I can't see, but I'll just hope you're listening. Take yourself somewhere where you'd like to go. Okay, are you all there? You gotten off the plane? Dan, you can open your eyes now. Where did you go, Dan? You're muted.
Stone.
Where?
Yellowstone.
Okay, Yellowstone. Nancy, Chris, Scruffy. Where did
actually right where I am, but into the countryside because there's so many trees and the trees make tunnels over the roads, and I just like to investigate more of that country.
Okay, so you're in Arkansas.
I'm in Arkansas.
Awesome. And JDT.
I found myself going to Mount Fuji.
Oh, awesome. 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 Dana G.
Maui.
All right. And Kip.
I want to go back to Iceland.
Iceland. Okay, so now you're there. Now close your eyes again and take a photograph. Okay. Have you all clicked the shutters? Okay, Paul, what did you photograph?
There's some sort of volcano mountain in Costa Rica.
Okay. Okay. Jay.
Well, I went to Belfast, Maine, and I photographed the old sardine cannery on the bay.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Michelle, what did you photograph?
Well, I was in Grand Cayman on a boat, and so I just did a photograph of the sunset over the water.
Okay. Okay.
But I don't know if there's a sunset over the water in Grand Cayman because it rises in the east and sets in the west, right?
Well,
in my mind, that's
okay, Victor, what did you photograph? Victor. There we go.
I went to Pongo Bay in American Samoa, my homeland.
Oh, nice. And what did you photograph?
From the bay looking out is basically the mountains on both sides and then the water.
Okay. Okay. Well, I do that partially to get everybody thinking about being out and where we'd like to be, and also a little bit about what we're shooting, what we're photographing. And the common thing we're going to talk about through the whole night is the thing that we photographed. And it's singular, the thing we photographed. It's not those forests, it's not the water and the trees and the birds. It's the bird, the birds, the tree, the rock. It's a singular thing that drives the photograph. Okay. It's the same thing as in we're shooting a portrait in a studio. We're looking for the expression. Okay, it's a singular thing. Whenever we look at a gallery of powerful images, the images are generally very simple and very uncomplicated. It's the same thing with landscape, and that's probably the biggest challenge of photographing landscapes, because there's so much beautiful stuff. Thank you, Paul. How do we distill all that beautiful stuff into a compelling image? So I'll share screen here and we'll take you on a, oh, can you enable me here? Michelle, can you enable screen sharing?
Yeah, do I have to make you a co-host to do that?
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
That looks good.
That worked? Okay.
There we go. Okay, so here's a little movie of slides from a couple. Are we seeing the black screen?
No,
Yeah, I gotta hit the share button.
there we go.
Computers do exactly what you tell them to do.
Now we see it. Does everybody
Okay.
see it?
Yes, here we go.
Okay.
Okay. So this then, to photograph a rock, have it look like a rock, but be more than a rock, Edward Weston. And it also could have been written by Guy Tal. So we live in an amazing place. And there is really a lot to see and share and do. People ask me many times, what's my favorite piece of equipment? Actually, I don't have it here, but I pull it out of my pocket and it's my car keys.
That's good.
Yep.
And following up with that is the most dangerous words in the English language are someday I will.
Yeah.
So don't wait for someday. It doesn't matter. Just go. If it's the Grand Caymans or Samoa or the Grand Canyon or Idaho or Santa Ana, just go. Just go. Take advantage. So something a little different here. What are some of the challenges that you all face or feel when you're trying to create a landscape image?
I have challenges, but anybody else? I just, the focal point, like what's going to be my focal point? There's so much to look at. I don't know where to aim.
Oh, that's wonderful. I normally write this stuff down. Let me get a piece of paper. Focal point. Well, we'll remember that. Okay. So much stuff. Yeah.
My biggest challenge is not controlling the sun. It keeps moving.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Dana or Sandy, but either one. Yeah, Dana.
Different exposure for the foreground and background. Like, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I am going to write some of these things down here. So focal point.
I have another one. You've packed too much into your trip. And so you get to a location and you're there and it's midday and you can't stay 3 days, you know, whatever. You have what you have, the lighting is what you have, and you probably shouldn't have booked so much in your trip.
I'm laughing, Lisa, because we just talked with Michelle a little bit about editing.
The frog is at the door and I didn't want to scare it. So.
Okay.
I know.
So I'm actually going to.
Okay. So Lisa, it was editing. Too much to do in your trip. That's a really good one. And that applies actually from the time you plan the trip until you hit the shutter on your camera. So that's a really good one. And that one hasn't actually come up before.
Yeah. One of the first images up, you had a very nice full moon that looked like it was just resting on the top of a rock outcropping. Was that planned? Did you do that much planning that you knew exactly where that would be, or did you adjust as you saw the moon coming up?
Awesome.
That good of planning. It was like amazing. I love that picture.
That's so cool, Sandy. When I'm doing these in person, when I normally get a good question like that, I'll give them out a little gift.
Oh, she gets a prize.
You get a prize.
There you go.
I don't know how I'll get it to you.
Just
but,
kidding, Sandy.
You've got a virtual prize, Sandy. Actually, I'm going to jump right into that.
The chat too, Dan. Willie and Lois don't have their microphone, but it says I hate tripods, and I think probably Willie saying that because Lois uses her tripod a lot and Willie hates them. So
okay. Oh man, this is really good stuff. We could spend an hour and a half just talking on these. Anybody else? JDT, looks like you've got something here. You're muted. You're muted, JD. You're muted.
Let's try it now.
Okay.
Probably the light is my main thing. I also feel off balance because I mostly do documentary photography. So just understanding the genre is a challenge for me.
All right. Man, these are wonderful. We could go off on any of these for quite a while. Paul.
For me, it would be like once I pick what I want. It's like, I'm trying to figure out an interesting vantage point, a good location, you know, and one that won't make me fall off a cliff, you know.
Vantage point safely. Okay, and somebody else said getting the wow moment. I saw that on a text. Okay. Anything else here? Best time of day. Okay. Of day. Okay, I think what we're gonna do here, we'll talk just a little bit about some of these questions, and some we'll touch on as we go on through. Is everybody comfortable in being here till midnight tonight?
Sure.
You said 13 hours. That's
oh, okay. The planning, I'm going to jump into Sandy's. There's been a whole evolution of thought about landscape imaging and photography. And Galen Rowell was one who was really one to preconceive his photographs. And he felt that that was the highest level. There's the snapshot, there's the circumstantial shot, and then there's the preconceived shot. And so he would sit in his office and think about the rock and when he would be there to get the moon, and then how he could do a self-exposure of him on the rock with the moon. And that whole preconceived thing, it was really quite big for a long time. Then here about 4 or 5 years ago, a couple of people like David Munch and a few others started saying, you know, I preconceive as it happens. And that's pretty much the way I photograph. I have gone to a place, scouted, saw the image, scouted the whole composition, knew when I wanted to be there. For the sunrise, it was going to light up the Sierra in the back with this beautiful oxbow. I've done that like once. So I'm really not a big planner. I go out with a camera and I go mainly out. And it's part of what the joy of being out is experiencing. And this is some of the things I was going to talk about. So that moon on the Washer Lady in the White Rim Trail in Utah is fun. Woke up, saw the sun, saw the moon, and moved around a little bit and waited for the moon to come in to sit down in her lap. And it was bitchin'.
Yeah.
So to me, that's some of the real joy is being there, seeing it happen, and then creating something out of all the stuff that's there. And then the cool thing is, okay, do I shoot wide? Do I shoot close? Do I double expose? Do I use a grad? The techniques all help. But I like to say I also have a problem with squirrels.
I do.
Like you being squirrely or actual squirrels?
Both. Squirrel. You know, the movie that I have not yet seen, The House and the Balloons, and the dog that's always distracted by the squirrels.
Yeah.
When light is happening, I am the dog chasing the squirrel. Oh my God, here, click. Oh my God, here, click. Oh, run. Oh, click. And one morning out in Farmers Ponds in Bishop, I scattered 4 expensive neutral graduated density filters over about 10 acres.
Uh-oh.
Because I hadn't zipped my pouch and I was so involved in the squirrels, I just kept shedding them. I was able to find them all. But that's some of the magic, is being out when this light is happening. And so I don't do much planning other than grab the car keys and say, I'm going to go tomorrow afternoon, I'm headed up to Bishop, and we'll see what happens. Somebody had asked, where are you going to do when you get up there? I says, I don't know. It depends on the clouds. I'll deliver some calendars and maybe go up to the White Mountains and explore and be. And it's pretty surprising that even when I'm not warmed up, when I'm not really in the mood, things aren't really happening, and I'm trying to put horns on the dough. Thank you, Dan. We've all been there. We've all been there. We've tried to make something happen and it's just not happening. Well, maybe shoot a little tighter, or maybe just put the camera away. People have asked sometimes, what's the best thing I can do to improve my landscape photography? And I say, leave the camera at home. Huh? How could I? I might miss the best shot of my life. Well, yeah, you might, but you also might have a wonderful time. You also might come home with some amazing mental chromes. You might have been out there just to enjoy the sunset and not have to worry about f-stops. So planning. Yeah, I do it. I plan a trip, figure out what I'm going to eat and kind of where I'm going to go, and then just be there when it happens, which is magical. So balancing the light and the exposure. Let's see, I forget who asked about that, but there is a big thing, and I'm not really set up to show examples, but I use a graduated neutral density filter all the time. You can do it in Photoshop, you can do it with HDR, you can kind of do it in Lightroom, but I really like getting the balanced exposure that I get with the grad. And there were three things that changed my life. One was Galen Rowell's passing. Two was the graduated neutral density filter, and the third was Velvia slide film. And the slide film, the Velvia, is very brilliant, very saturated, wonderful landscape photography film. And I still shoot and edit with Velvia in my mind. And to the point sometimes I look at it and go, that's pretty hot. I bet I need to dial this back a little bit. So the grad, remind me when we start showing some examples, and I can show you some examples of how the grad works. The picture behind me is with a grad, because there's no way that I could get that sky and that, this is really hard to do, and that foreground without the grad. That's a panorama of 2 or maybe 5 or 6 shots with the grad, which you get this beautiful exposure on the sky and a beautiful foreground exposure and not have to do any real Photoshop work. So a grad is really worth the investment. Planning too much into the trip, editing. That kind of goes with another question, was best time of the day, and how to balance your time. We'll kind of touch on that, is why do we go out? You know, why do we go on the trip? And I'll actually come back to that one, because I've actually got a slide on that. Getting the wow moment. Yeah, that happens all the time. And a lot of that wow moment is internal. We've all felt, especially portrait shooters, you felt that magic when you connect with the subject. Okay, when you're doing a headshot or a family shot and you kind of feel that magic happening between you and the clients. I see some nodding heads. It's pretty amazing. That is really an amazing feeling. Well, the same thing can happen with landscaping and nature, is when you make that connection with where you are. And that's really magical. Can't really chase it. You can't make it happen. It just kind of has to happen. You talk about flow state, all that kind of groovy stuff, but it's just being out, enjoying, relaxing, seeing it, and going, wow, this is really cool. Click. Vantage point safely. Yep. We've seen a lot of pictures of beautiful sunset skies. big, beautiful sunset sky with nothing really in it. And we kind of go, okay, really nice, next. Because really what we've done when we do that is we've photographed a scene, a set of, in a theater. Okay, there's really no actors, there's no lead actor, no supporting cast. So what we really want is to find a lead actor to put into that set. And I'll talk about that some more. And when that happens, when that sky is going off, I'm really doing the squirrel thing, looking for some kind of a lead actor, which is pretty awesome. Best time of the day? Easiest time, and really for competition images. Sorry, I had a text there. Competition images, the best time is evening and morning. Sunrise, you got that magical time when the light's really soft, it's warm, transitioning from blue into red and warm tones, or red into blue tones. That's the time you can get the most dramatic colors and images and emotion. And it really is amazing, including red and orange and yellow in an image, the emotions it generates. I can just see the difference when I post a blue image on Facebook or an image with red and orange. Double, triple the reaction to the red and orange, even though the blue image is so damn cool, but it doesn't create the same impact as reds and yellows. But having said that, challenge yourself to shoot midday when the light's terrible, when the light's really harsh. I've got a few, and it's a good time to try black and white, especially if you've got some clouds. Lots of times you're not going to end up with a competition image or a really compelling image in the midday, but that doesn't mean you don't have to try. And it's actually kind of fun to do. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for those questions, and keep them coming as we go. So I like to think, tonight we'll talk a little bit about the finding the image, the search, and the discovery. Every trip is different. Finding and the creating are wonderful. Sharing keeps me going out. But if I had a choice between finding, creating, and sharing, I think I would stick with the finding. I would just leave the camera at home and just go. I already talked about the go now, the car keys, the gear. Okay, the gear question. What's the most important piece of gear? Well, for me, it's the car keys. It doesn't matter what gear you use. An iPhone, a Hasselblad, a $30,000 digital back on a medium format camera, or a Canon 10D. Actually, if you're still using the 10D, I would say throw it away and get something newer. It really doesn't matter. What I carry in my kit is a Canon 5D Mark IV, and pretty much two lenses, a 16-35 2.8, and surprise, surprise, a 28-300, the big heavy beast. I really do like having the reach. It's a wonderful event lens because when somebody's running at me in a marathon, I can start out at 300 and end up at 28. Super. I love the quality of the lens, the contrast, and the weight saves me $40 a month because I don't have to belong to a gym.
Oh, yeah.
Filters I use, polarizer almost all the time. Polarizer is always on my lenses. And polarizer is not just for blue sky like is behind Dan's head. Polarizer is amazing in the shade, in shadow, and it's something we don't think about. And it will increase the saturation, the color, and the contrast of your shots in the shade. So if you're shooting flowers or close-ups or anything in the shade, slap the polarizer on. And as you rotate the polarizer, you can see the change in the contrast and the saturation. So that's the first take home for tonight. Use your polarizer. Shortcoming of the polarizer, and I look back at some of my old images and I see it a lot, is when you're using a wide angle and a polarizer, the polarizer doesn't cover the whole sky, and you'll get, Dan, a big blue streak right in the middle. And there's really no way around it. I've tried turning the polarizer and shooting multiple shots. It just doesn't work. What I will do is I can paint in Photoshop. I'll sample with the blues and then drag the blues across and get rid of that big streaky blue mass in the middle of the picture. And once, when you shoot the shot, it's fine. You don't really realize it. And then a little bit later, you look at it and you go, oh, there it is again. So, and that's just because you're wider than the actual polarizer.
Dan.
Yes, Dennis.
I have a question.
Please.
Something that's I've thought about for a long time. Back in the days of film, I would use polarizers all the time. But now that we're using circular polarizers, they just don't seem to be as effective.
Oh, interesting. Dennis, I haven't noticed that. I use a circulizer. That's a good word. The circular polarizer all the time. And I can, looking through the viewfinder, I can see it change. And especially when you're getting a brilliant sunset and you just see the clouds and the sky darken and the clouds jump off. I don't know that I really noticed a difference. Back in the Velvia days, yeah, I'd still use the polarizer. And one of my favorite shots from the Grand Canyon that Jack Dykinga really loved is a red sandstone background with a datura bloom, and just composed really nice. Jack loved it. I entered it in print comp, and the judge took one look at it. He said, "Doesn't anyone use a polarizer anymore?" And I went, "Oh, bleep," because there's no going back to get that shot. And the polarizer will take the glare off the leaves and would turn those kind of shiny bluish leaves to a deep green, and I'd get a lot more deep red out of the rock. So yeah, use it again, Dennis. I'm a big lover of the polarizer. The other thing, and I mentioned already, is the graduated neutral density filter. And does anybody not know about grads? Okay.
One's raising their hand, or I don't see.
Okay.
Dan disappeared.
I disappeared.
Like that? That was a cool trick.
Okay. I think you're gonna. It's a little weird with my background.
There.
Okay. The grad, dark on top, clear on the bottom. I have switched to breakthrough photography as a little plug here. I don't get anything from them, but these are glass, tempered glass, and they don't scratch. I use the, it's not epoxy, but it's a hard plastic from Stingray for years. And after about 2 or 3 years, I'd have to replace them because I tend to hold them on front and scratch them and drop them in the dirt and in sand. These things are amazing. So it's very, this working against the sky, you can see it'll darken the sky and let the foreground come through. Okay, grads, changed my life. The other thing I have a lot of fun with is an ND. I've got a 2 and a 10 stop ND. The grant from Breakthrough gave a great talk on using a 2 and a 6 to do amazing star work. And so I've got some learning to do on my NDs. But they're really, really great for, I call it melting water, for getting water to smooth out. Ocean water looks very cool to our eye. It really is chaotic in a photograph with all the chattery waves and loose stuff in the water. It's really a big eye trap. But if you can smooth that water out, then all of a sudden you've taken one element and made it really smooth. Tripod. Yep. Sorry, somebody said they didn't like, oh, what brand? Oh, the grad I'm using now and my polarizers are Breakthrough Photography. Really, really good stuff.
Hey, Dan.
Yes.
Have you done any star shots with the ND?
Not too much. I haven't really done much night work. You know, the 5D4 is a great night camera and it does good. Yeah, I just haven't done a whole lot.
I can't see it on there, really. Honestly, I can't see it because you're looking for, like when you're doing the Milky Way,
right?
You're probably 4,000 ISO, 2.8 to f4.
Yeah.
For 20 seconds.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't use the ND at night because I'm trying to get as much light as possible.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if he's trying to get stars, I don't see how you can, unless you're doing trails for 5 hours.
Oh, right. No, what Breakthrough guy was talking about was your evening in a transition.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thanks, Kip.
All right.
Oh, and one thing too is if you've ever got me as the judge and you've got this wonderful light track trail star shot, I'm probably not going to really like it. So probably better to choose another judge. I think they're really chaotic. That's a warning. So a tripod, yeah. Use a tripod, especially when the light is minimal. And yeah, I live with a tripod. I am a fan of Enduro. They're really relatively inexpensive and really well built and great service. So I've got 3 different Enduro tripods and I'm a big fan. It is really nice to be separate from the tripod. There was a time in Africa when my tripod was still on the plane. And so I just had to shoot the dead play, all this beautiful stuff at 600 to 800 ISO. And it was really nice to be able to wander all over that whole area and just shoot and compose and shoot and compose. But it's 2 different styles of shooting. I carry a flash, hardly ever use it when I'm out, but I've got it. It's kind of fun to play with at night. And how many have found the perfect camera pack?
No.
Doesn't exist.
What do you use?
Actually, right now, here, let me do this.
That was my biggest challenge on this last trip was I had a spider holster with 2 cameras on it and a 70 to 200 lens and then I got a 24 and oh man, it just wasn't working.
So where I am right now is everything goes in this fanny pack with a belt strap to go over my shoulder. The 5D with the 28-300, 1635, some pouches for my filters, and an extra little pouch for the batteries that I usually forget to zip, and unfortunately haven't lost too many batteries. Beautiful thing here, I grab my camera or grab my pack and my tripod and go. So I'm really a fan of zooms. Primes are nice, they're lighter and probably sharper.
What brand is your pack there, Dan?
Oh, this is Mind Shift. And the fanny pack came as part of a backpack. And it's a cool rotation. You just turn the fanny pack outside of the backpack and you can access it all. But I ended up just using the fanny pack.
Somebody with one the other day, they were using it to shoot in the ocean. And so they kept the backpack on and just swung that around to get their stuff.
Yeah, it's really good stuff. It's Mind Shift. They're combined with another company, but it's really, really good quality stuff. It makes it nice. But yeah, I've just evolved. I asked him once, could I get a replacement fanny pack? And he says, no, you got to buy the whole thing.
Oh.
So it's nice. There I'm editing because I can just grab and go. It fits in the car nice, and off we go. And with 2 lenses, I'm kind of good to go. So where and when? Every trip needs a decision and a plan. It doesn't matter. Just go. Grab the map. Just go. Travel gear, I don't need to get into that too much. Clothes and a toothbrush and some food and a map. I try to keep it fairly simple with just the amount of gear we take. More gear equals more choices, more decisions. If you have just one coat, you just grab one coat. If you've got a closet full of coats like I have, I'm starting to think, well, how cold is it going to be? Is it going to be wet? Do I want a red one, the green one, the blue one? And all of a sudden I've taken half an hour instead to choose my coat. Well, the same kind of thing applies to your gear. Less gear, less decisions, more time in the field. All right. So a little bit about the road trip. Why do we go?
Dan, somebody asked about what brand of grad did you mention?
Okay, it is Breakthrough Photography. Somebody might, I'll do a quick link here. AKTHROUGHBH. Here it is. Breakthrough Filters. Putting the link in the chat.
Okay, thank you. I was trying to do that, but I hadn't found it yet.
Here we go. Okay. Is there anything I'm missing here? Do you always use an ND filter? A lot. Or graduated neutral density? Grad, gotta run. Okay, see you later, Jennifer. All right. Okay, let's do a share screen. And here, let me get rid of this. Hide QuickTime Player. All right, and we're going to talk a little bit more. This will be just a little bit fun. Okay, we got a black screen now.
Yes, we have a black screen.
Okay, so why do we go out? Oops. There we go. Do we go out to get a fantastic photograph? To wow our friends and neighbors? To make $1 million would be nice. Search for tripod holes? There's a lot of repeating photographs. To get 1,000 likes on Facebook? Or do we go out to feel, taste, touch, hear, discover, share? To see what's around the bend, over the hill, down the stairs, or inside that door? To find a great burger or slice of berry pie out in the middle of nowhere? To be discouraged by wind and blinding dust? Only to stumble upon vast fields of purple, yellow, and blue, backed by a towering butte. To connect with a momentary smile. Oh, to find a moonscape of blue and red that crumbles with the lightest step. To connect with a momentary smile or a cautious frown. To run like mad across a grassy slope, searching for something other than cow patties to put into the photo, only to have the sky explode into blazing colors. Stand behind a barrier of tripods as a large grizzly crosses 10 feet in front of you. To stand at a gorge cut through hundreds of feet of volcanic pumice as a waterfall roars at your feet. It's not about the digits, it's about the discovery. So I start with no preconceived idea. Discovery excites me to focus. Edward Weston. Okay. After process comes the creating. We'll talk a little bit about composition, but I've also got 4 rules. Simplify, get close, eliminate, and tell a story. Simplify, get close, eliminate, and tell a story. Okay, a little bit about that stuff out there. And this has been kind of a fun one. Whenever you grab the camera, whenever you're ready to click the shutter, there's one thing that made you do that. There's one thing that made you hit the brakes, do another U-turn, got everybody in the car going, are you going to do this again? There's one thing that made you stop. So after you've dodged the oncoming trucks and you've done the U-turn, you've parked alongside the road, you've jumped out with the camera, what happened to that one thing? Anybody? It's gone. You lost it. Okay, it's somewhere in your head, but by the time you flip the U-turn and put up with everybody yelling at you yet again, you jump out of the car and that one thing is kind of lost. Or maybe you felt it, but you didn't really see it. So when you get out of the car, shut the door on, let everybody stay inside the car, and you move out, look for that one thing. I use an example, Mr. Petzel, who started NOLS, North America Outdoor Leadership School, and he was the first big first aid, first responder trainer. He said, okay, after you've got the bleeding stopped and you've got them breathing again, before you do anything else, sit down and have a smoke. Well, we don't really do the smoke anymore, but the concept is the same. Stop the bleeding, sit down. What was it that made you stop? Look for that one thing. Okay, was it that tree? Was it that rock? Was it that group of trees? What was that one thing that caught your eye? And this applies to all photography. So once you've realized, okay, it was that tree, it was that mountain, it's not all of those mountains, it's that mountain. Now what do I do with it? So instead of jumping out and kind of just spraying and praying and thinking I'll get it if I shoot enough, it will be out there. Stop, think, find that one thing, and then start working on that one thing. How do I want to compose it? How do I want to put it in the photograph? What feels right? For years and years, I still do. I've pretty much felt like I've shot by ear. Guitarists can play by ear or can read music or write music. I kind of photograph by ear. It feels right. I pull up the camera. This feels good. This doesn't feel so good. And I'll end up coming back to what feels good. Well, and if it feels good, there's a reason for it. It's probably because there's some compositional elements that actually work in that view. So that one thing, look for it, find it, and then shoot the heck out of it. But that's the story you're looking for. Okay, I talked a little bit about sets. This came to me one day at PPC while we were evaluating photographs for people. And I looked around the wall at all those gorgeous prints on the wall at convention, and I realized all of these images are really powerful and they're all very clean. And I felt that they all had a lead actor, a supporting cast, and a set. No more, no less. And I like to see too that anytime we're looking at a TV show, a mystery, crime show, pretty much anything, there may be 4 or 5 sub-stories going on in the hour you're watching it. But any 1 second, if you freeze the frame, it's going to be designed. The lead actor is in front. There'll be a supporting cast and a set. I think this is probably the biggest challenge to photographing landscape and nature is separating and finding that lead actor. We do a lot of photographing sets. Thanks, Dan. And we get home, we've got these beautiful pictures of sets that we were excited about, and we look at them on the screen and we kind of go, oh, that's not really what I was thinking, or that's not really what I was feeling. Has anybody else had that feeling?
Yeah.
Yep. Every single time. So think about that one thing that made you stop and turn that into your lead actor. Okay, compositional elements. We all hear about, okay, I don't want to follow the rules. We got to break the rules, composition rules. We've heard this how many times? Well, the rules are there for a reason, because they work. Any piece of art has compositional elements in it that are compelling and that draw you into it. Even the most abstract piece of art, of painting, or completely abstract, has something in it that draws you in. So there's some compositional elements. So instead of calling it a rule, I just call it elements. And the simple ones, I think the most important and the most critical one is a center of interest. That's the story. That is the one thing we really want to make the image about. And here's where editing comes. And so this is a beautiful sand dune, but really it's good for a backdrop for something like this. But the sand dune itself, there's a whole lot of negative space there, and there's really itself in itself isn't compelling or missing a center of interest. Diagonals and Z's. We don't talk too much about Z's, but I think Z's are a really strong and compelling compositional element. And I find them a lot. When I pull back an image and I go, man, what was good about this? And then I'll start seeing some substantial Z's in the image. Diagonals. Leading lines, we've heard about this. Odd numbers. Somebody asked, do you carry those rocks around in your backpack?
Do you?
No, but they were in a big pile right behind me. So they're actually placed there for a purpose. And And you can see if you'll just put your finger up without those rocks, it becomes nice, but those rocks really help ground the image.
Beautiful.
And so the threes, the odd numbers, they really do work. And then the rule of thirds, PowerPoint's the golden ratio. I'll talk a little, and S-curves. S-curves can be hidden, but they're really, I think, really amazing. Here we can see this strong S that just leaves my eye in and then up to this strange peak. I'm not really sure what the magic is on an S-curve or why it works, but they just do. And this was one of my first ever slide shots a long, long time ago. And I've always liked it. It's always done really well. I didn't understand why until I realized there's a big, strong S-curve there.
Ready?
Yes. So, okay, I'm not going to go here yet. Let me switch back over to Lightroom. Stop share. I'm going to show you my Lightroom. Get rid of this. Okay. So how are we doing on time?
Let's see. It's 7:40 right now. So we've been going a little over an hour.
Right.
Everyone's still hanging in there, so you just keep going.
Okay. I can talk for a long time. My wife knows that quite well.
Usually well, midnight, right? Isn't that what everybody said?
That's probably not going to go that long.
All right. We can go to about 8:10, 8:15.
Okay.
Sound good?
Oh, that'll be perfect. That will be perfect. Okay, so what I've done over time is just kind of drawn some examples into, I don't know if you can read this actually. Oh, we can do this. Oh, what is it? There we go. I'm a big fan of Lightroom. So I've just dragged some of these into collections. And so some examples of points of interest. What works about this photo?
Connection with his eyes.
Boy, right.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. What kind of compositional elements? Oh, okay. Well, first off, what's the main point of interest?
Eyes.
The eyes.
Yeah.
What other compositional elements do we see?
Thirds.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And there's this big old massive diagonal leading right up into those eyes. And we've always wondered whether to leave the grass in or not. And I say, yeah, I think the grass works. And it's actually, he's in the shade with the reflector is the side of the car. Okay, again, center of interest, and what kind of compositional elements do we see here?
Again, the rule of thirds.
Mm-hmm.
Leading lines.
Right.
Come on, you guys, jump in.
The Z's.
What was that?
The Z's.
Oh, the Z's.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And the cool thing, the wind was blowing so hard that it straightened out the flag.
That's yeah, but the fog make it all work.
And actually, that's a 30-second exposure. And that's waves.
Oh, the waves, the waves. Oh, wow. Oh, you tricked me.
And that kind of comes into this thing called tension. Is how did that happen? How did that happen? So, okay, what kind of compositional elements do we have here?
Diagonal.
What was it? Sandy?
Oh, leading line, diagonal, coming into the photo.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting here. There's the guy here. I think without the guy, it would not be as powerful. But
where's
he's kind of dead center.
I can't see a guy. Oh, there. Okay. Oops. Yeah, now I can see. I was not seeing the whole photo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he's your starring, the main character and the starring role. Would that be what you would consider?
I would think so. Now, just because he is for me, does that mean that somebody else might see this as the starring role?
To me, that was the starring role because I couldn't see him on
okay.
Yeah.
Picture I'm viewing.
That would get your eye is the top board there.
Yeah. Oh man. That's some power.
Yeah.
That is a pretty cool set though.
Oh gosh. This guy worked so hard to try and catch a wave. He never did. But in this case, yeah, I would say here's the lead actor, and this guy's the supporting cast.
Okay.
Right. Okay, what do we have here? How about a few compositional elements that we have here?
S curves.
Bingo.
Yeah, but the natural beauty is.
Oh gosh, yes. This is a case of where it's just so nice to be out and see this happen. And this lasts maybe 5 or 10 minutes and then it's gone. So yeah, elements here, I think probably the strongest is the S curve. That's a really good example of an S curve. And did I see that S curve while I was shooting? Maybe not. It just felt good. And so it's grounded. Little things for image comp, like make sure all of the edges are clean. That there's nothing in the image. Like I cleaned up these guys a little bit that were kind of hanging off the edge. This is a really good example of polarizer in the shade. Without the polarizer, this orange didn't happen and the greens were really insipid. And John, who put that leaf there and helped create it, didn't have his polarizer, and the images really didn't work anywhere nearly as well. So I am puzzled with panoramas, because panoramas seem to break a lot of the rules, but they work. And so what makes a panorama work? So where do you see like the main center of interest here?
The light.
The light, yeah. We've got bright light over here. We've got light here. We've got this big area of light here. I kind of know what
went to the very bright red.
Right up in here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I think really this is the center of interest here because we've got some light hanging on these peaks and we've got this bright. And so your eye goes to the bright.
I think too, you have a sort of a leading line with regard to like the tops of these peaks.
Yeah, you know, right, because we're kind of leading here and then leading here.
That's what my eye did.
Awesome. And then I kind of come over here to look at Carl Kaler's milk, and then I come back over here.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody heard the story of the milk in the grocery store?
You should tell them because I think about that with every image that I do now. Like, where's the milk? Where's the milk?
It was Carl Kaler, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I remember that from, gosh, years ago.
Yep, he teaches it at West Coast School.
Okay.
Nice.
So when you go into the store, you got to go all the way back to get the milk. And then you come up front and you get your cookies. You go all the way back and you get the yogurt. You come up front and you get your cereal. And you go all the way back and get the cheese. So it's an explanation point.
Yeah, don't forget the milk.
Don't forget the milk. So, yeah, shameless use of somebody else's thoughts there, but it's been a good one.
No, you gave him credit. I love it.
Okay. So the 4 rules: simplify, get close, eliminate, tell a story. Does that work here?
Yeah.
What's that?
There's storytelling there.
Yeah. And do we need to know that he's waiting for his assistant to throw him a bag of peanuts?
Nope.
Nope.
The elephant was waiting for it.
Yeah. Do we need to see the whole elephant?
Nope.
So is there anything in the image that really shouldn't be there?
No.
This is the beauty of a zoom telephoto, because you can just zoom right in, and I really didn't crop it. Okay, so now compelling forestry images. There will be times when I'll throw a whole series of pictures up and people go, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then I'll throw this up and somebody goes, ooh. And I go, what are you talking about? Okay, is there a center of interest?
No.
No, kind of all over the place.
Forests are difficult. That comes into chaos and trying to control chaos.
I think I said because I think I have about 100 of these from my last vacation. And then I look at them and go, what am I going to do with them?
Okay. Well, there actually is, this is a little bit photojournalistic because it shows the remnants of a fire. But here I'm having to explain the picture to you. Okay. If I have to explain the picture to you, it's not a compelling image. Okay, so let's keep working. Oh, yeah.
Couldn't you make that, Dan? Couldn't you make that a compelling image, like the way you crop it? Like if you did like a really tight crop or got rid of some of the trees in the front, or I don't know, did some kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll challenge you. What would I crop into?
I don't know. I'm thinking like if you cropped it where you just saw like straight amount of trees, or did something where it curved up, or I don't know.
Yeah. Somebody else said, and I don't remember who, so this is anonymous credit, is still putting a tuxedo on a goat.
Yeah, that's true. But when
so,
you're just starting out and you've got a lot of goats.
Yep. Now, you can. I mean, there are times with cropping and editing, you can take an image and find an image out of it, but forests are difficult. Okay. So here, we go from here to this. Oh, gorgeous. Got the grad on it, got this foreground, midground, background, skies, and a whole lot of nothing. Oh, let's see, we'll work harder. Still nothing. We'll turn around and look the other way, get a little bit of fog, and we've got at least not an image comp image, but something that would work in an album. There's a little bit of a story here. And remember when I talked about the datura with the sandstone? See the brightness and the glare on these leaves? A polarizer will take and make those a rich, dark green. And there's really no way in post to mimic a polarizer. Have you tried, Dan? Okay. So let's go to simplify. Just some fun examples of simplifying. Here's a case too where panorama just works. If it included all the sky and all the foreground, there's just a lot of stuff. So what do we see included in this image?
The leading line.
The leading lines, yeah. And what else? If anybody gets the real hidden secret of this image, I'll mail you a card.
The shadows.
That's cool, yeah. But there's something here that's really unique to the desert of Namibia. And they actually happen somewhat in Australia, and nobody knows how they happen.
The circle patterns?
Yeah, these guys. There's thousands and thousands of them, and nobody's been able to figure out how they are made.
Aliens.
Aliens, yep. The Bushmen feel that it's when somebody passes and they dance in a circle, and the circle becomes a spot of where the person passed. They think termites might do it, but they haven't figured it out. It's really pretty cool. All right. Simplify, tell a story.
So was that Therese that answered that, or who was that?
Oh, who did answer that?
Me, Lisa.
Okay, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa, okay.
All right. Send me your address and I'll mail you a card.
Good job, Lisa Miller.
Oh, well, thank you.
Okay, composition of elements here.
3.
Threes. What else?
Or odd numbers, because you also have odd branches in the middle tree.
Oh, yeah.
And the left tree.
Oh, yes. I talked quite a bit about dead stuff in a photograph, and where a lot of times to our eye, it looks interesting. We're seeing this dead tree with all the branches, and it rarely works because there's just too much stuff. And it really does distract from an image. And actually I need a column of dead stuff. But here it's dead and it's compelling because they're so clean. And they all have somewhat of a shape and form. Right. What else here?
What is the orange? Is that sky or sand?
Oh, that's really cool. It's a sand dune.
Okay.
And the sun is behind me. This is all in shade. And the sun is lighting up the sand dune.
Oh, wow.
Franz Lanting was one of the first to really make this place famous, and now it is famous.
Is that salt in front of you, or is that just cracked?
It's a clay pan. At one time this was filled with water, and thousands of years ago, and then the river changed. This whole pan dried up, and these thorn trees all died.
I think that's pretty cool. It's kind of like a red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love the color palette.
Yeah.
Actually did really well. There was another small little tree over here that Mike Collins told me to crop out, and I did, because it really is just about these three guys here.
Yeah, that was smart. Good advice.
Yes, it was good. And it's hard to do because I like that other little tree. But as far as an image goes, it just simplify, clean it up.
Yeah, that works good.
Okay. Here's my ode to, what is it? Sunset over Ansel Adams picture with the black and white New Mexico picture with the mission.
Moonrise.
Moonrise, yes, over
Hernandez.
Hernandez. Thank you, Lisa. All right.
That's nice. You should do this one in black and white.
Let's try it. Oh, I love Lightroom. Ooh. Thinking. Come on. Yeah.
I like it better.
Let's see. Let's do this and create a virtual copy. And do you know about these? Where are we? Oh, we'll just do it like that for now. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. I've enjoyed the questions. We've done a little bit about travel, a little bit about gear. What are some of the things that are sticking with you here?
Just the composition with the S and the Z's and the third, and finding a leading actor, all that is really helpful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I need to go back on vacation.
Well, and as you look through your images, you know, even if you've got
find happy accidents.
Yes, you know, you look through some of those big ones that you have with a lot of stuff, and you can still look for it, just crop into it. And if you have something, Michelle, send me a copy, and I'll look for it.
Okay. Yeah, it was great when I got to the top of that volcano and I realized I didn't bring my 24. I only had a 35.
Okay.
So then I had to do like a tilt shift thing. So we'll see if I can seam it together and make it work. But I don't know. I haven't tried it yet.
Lightroom and Photoshop do a really nice job of making pans.
Yep, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Would have been just better to bring the right lens.
Yeah.
Don't always have it.
Okay, so we covered a lot of the questions. Is there anything else? I'm not going to say, are there any questions, but I'll say, are there any questions?
Would you ever do a composite where you put something into your landscape to draw that interest that wasn't there? Or is that just your style?
When I'm doing landscape and nature, I don't, you know, but abstracts, composite, digital art, I have been having some fun with things like this. That's definitely not a true landscape.
Oh, but they're beautiful.
Oh, they're so much fun.
Yeah, beautiful.
And this is me and my pet dog.
Oh.
Oh, your wife lets you have that pet dog?
Yeah. It keeps the neighborhood cats down.
Yeah.
So, Sandy, I don't. My nature shots and landscapes, I don't. I will do some digital gardening. I'll clean up, you know, a brush or a rock or footprints and sand dunes. I don't have any compunction about getting rid of footprints and sand dunes.
Oh, okay.
And I have cleaned out a telephone pole or two. But as far as dropping in a moon or using Photoshop to change out the sky, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
That was really Lois's question, was sky replacement. Okay.
Yeah.
Dodge and burn?
Dodge, yeah, I work them hard. I will lighten, darken, add some Orton glow. You know, and sometimes I end up with the image that's just way too hot, and then I come back and realize, oh, what was I thinking? And calm it down. So, but all the components in the image that I'm presenting as a landscape or nature were there.
Are you using any like topaz or Nick collection or anything?
No.
Color adjustments or filters or anything like that after the fact?
No, I've got primarily, I'll get it about 60 to 70% finished in Lightroom, move it over, add more contrast and work on colors and, you know, some digital gardening in Photoshop. And sometimes I'll add a little Orton glow, which is really cool, but can be overdone. It adds this kind of soft, surrealistic look to it. I don't really know how it works. I just found a recipe on the web and copied it over and made an action. So, but I don't, I've got Silver Effects Pro, but now I've pretty much just used the black and white layer in Photoshop because it's got all the different filters, and the adjustment slider is awesome. And it doesn't take out as much data as Silver Effects Pro. Silver Effects Pro can really scarf out, and you can end up with a lot of digitizing. So no, I don't use any real other programs, just Lightroom and Photoshop.
Okay.
And which is another story, is to show how to use Lightroom and Photoshop.
Yeah, I know. Let's see, what time is it? 8:04. Do you want to show us really quick how you would quickly do that one? You were going to do it in black and white. And
oh, okay.
Do that real quick. Do you have time?
Yeah, sure. Let me get back to it. Where was it?
You want to see that really quick? That was that graveyard.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, so go to Photoshop.
So you're doing the black and white conversion in Photoshop, not in Lightroom?
I can do both.
Okay.
But, okay, so let's just duplicate.
Because Nancy's asking if you use specific white balance settings also.
You know, a lot of times, that's a really good question. I've got the camera almost always set to cloudy because I personally like warmer images than cold. And landscape, I will sometimes adjust the white balance. And sometimes it's too warm, I'll cool it off a bit. Photographing people, I've been using, you know, for events, I've been using auto white balance lately, and that works out. I thought I would never say that, but yeah. Okay, so let's just duplicate this guy. And we'll flatten it. Okay, let me draw over a.
Oh, there we go, because we couldn't see your tools.
Oh yeah, that's kind of important.
Yeah.
I'm so used to having my two screens.
Oh,
okay.
That's nice to work on too. Yeah.
Oh, it's really wonderful. Okay, so I'll create a new adjustment fill level. Actually, let's see, no, I don't want brightness, contrast. I want black and white. Okay. The cool thing here, and can everybody see that? Is it big enough?
I think so.
I actually kind of learned this from Guy Tal. Right here in your presets, you've got all of the filters that we used to use with black and white film. So here's a blue filter, darker, green, ooh, infrared. Actually, I've got a couple other presets that I like better. And then here's red and yellow. Well, let's go back to red. Red's really dark. Let's try yellow. Now, let's see. Let's go to blue. So now you can come in and you can play with your sliders with a whole lot of control. And then there we go. And then I might come and add a curves layer. I'll lighten up that trees in the foreground. And then I'm going to darken the sky. All right.
So you used a mask and then you're using your paint to paint back in the sky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then darken this guy in the front. So that's and so then you've got your ability to use the different adjustment layers. You can add more contrast, maybe lighten these guys up some. But that's using the black and white adjustment layer, which is pretty cool too. Yeah.
And then, Willie and Lois were asking about HDR and bracketing.
Okay, I don't do too. Oh, okay. Interest. Where's my rule of thirds? Threes, odds. Okay, where was that? Simplify. I will bracket and blend by hand. Where is a lot? I'm not a real fan of any of the HDR programs. I just don't necessarily like it. I will take something like this if I need to and make another exposure for the bright areas, darken that, lay it on as a layer, and then paint in the darker areas pretty much by hand. And I feel I get a more natural look. I don't like the grayness that HDR can do to the sky. But yeah, I will.
So are you stacking two photos, or you're just manipulating the same photo?
I'll stack. Yeah.
Two exposures.
Yeah, I'll stack two different exposures. Sometimes I'll take two or three and end up most of the time just being able to use a dark one for like this bright area. For this bright area, and then the other exposure for the foreground.
Okay.
And then just paint the darker areas in. And another kind of slick trick for filling in the overexposed areas, you can go into Photoshop and use a brush and sample one of these other colors and come in here at about a 20 or 30% opacity and just fill in. And nobody will ever notice.
That's a neat trick.
It works pretty well.
The other chat question is issues with printing saturated oranges plus blues that are out of the gamut.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Next question. Yeah, I would go back and actually sometimes you have to desaturate and pull it back to where it'll actually print. And haven't been printing too much lately, and I haven't had too much of an issue with that, but it definitely can happen, especially in the reds and oranges. Okay, what else? Oh, and then every once in a while, something just really special happens. Down the bottom of a canyon, this is all deep red light, middle of the afternoon. It's just light reflected off the sides. 3 or 4 days either side, those leaves wouldn't have been there. And it's just so cool. And then there's the perspective tricks. Does anybody know what this is? Somebody actually got it last time.
Is it taken like in Slot Canyon, in a slot canyon?
2 outdoor walls.
2 outdoor walls? It's actually, Sandy, you're absolutely right. It's a slot canyon. And this is the back wall and this is the front wall, and there's just one little bead of light coming through from the other side. So, okay.
Amazing.
Anything else?
It's 8:13, you guys. Any last questions from anybody? You got to speak now. I think we have a lot to think about and a lot of good information. Beautiful work, Dan.
Thank you, Michelle. It's really fun. It's enjoyable to share.
Yeah.
And yeah, really wonderful questions. Yes.
I just said thank you. I got a lot out of this.
Okay, Jay. Awesome. Awesome. I think the big take home is look for the lead actor.
Yeah.
You know, and if you have to run, if you have to stand on a place where you really shouldn't be standing, Paul, just go ahead and do it. Just don't tell the wife.
Have your friend take pictures when you fall?
I'm just going to say knock on wood here. Injuries have been not very many or serious. Okay, one little thing too about, and I didn't go into it, but there's a whole slide, is when we're out, we really have a responsibility. So this is a little bit preachy here. We have a responsibility to the land and the people, the visitors, ourselves, and the people that are following us. So things like, I have been guilty of crawling through a fence. You know, I have a few pairs of jeans with trespass holes in them, you know, where I got caught on a barbed wire. It's not really cool anymore. You know, there's so many places that we can photograph just from the road or, you know, legally. Of course, the whole litter thing. And then there's also the Instagramming of places. When I do a workshop, I say, if you need to have a GPS on your camera and put GPS coordinates on your pictures on the workshop that I'm leading, it would be better if you take another workshop, to be blunt. To me, the biggest joy I get is the discovery. It's not going out and repeating somebody else's picture. It's not going out and coming to an area where I have visited 5 years ago and finding it thrashed, which happens. Thank you, Dennis. So it's an idea, and I've seen the transition just in the last 5 or 6 years on social posts. A while ago, people posted GPS coordinates on their pictures on Facebook and on Instagram. That doesn't happen anymore. And if somebody does, somebody will really call them out for it. And it's not that you're hiding this stuff. It's just that, okay, it's something I found, it's something that we found, the joy of finding it. It's out there, go look for it. But I'm not going to give you a map to it. So that's a big thing is be smart, protect the land, send a message to everybody that it's something worth protecting and something worth respecting. There's a lot of really crazy, cool stuff done in the wild now that it looks amazing. It looks great on Instagram, but it's really not about respecting the land. It's about risk, and it's about looking good, and it's about really destruction. So walk softly. I do some barefoot grandpa videos. They're really quite fun. You can look them up on YouTube. And there's some little campcraft things about walking softly in the desert, just taking care, and some with my little grandson, who's a great assistant. So they're quite fun. If you check them out, Barefoot Grandpa, you'll find them on YouTube. And I'll keep doing them. Little things about how to split wood, how to walk, how to put on a backpack. And I'll really start working in this respect thing too. So anyway, this has been really, really fun.
Cool. Yeah, this has been fun. You guys all had so many good questions. Yeah, really good questions. Thanks, Dan.
Oh,
this was good. This
was really fun. And it's so much better when I can look out and see somebody reacting. And actually, it's quite easier to ask somebody a question like Victor because I can see his name in front of him.
Yeah, that was good. So everybody's got to get out there. So then for September, for our image comp, then our landscape category better be full.
Oh, awesome.
Going out and doing some more images, right, you guys? We still have some summer weather.
Yeah, doesn't matter. Just go, remember?
Just go.
And if you'd like, if you've got an image you're working on, feel free to send it to me and I'll do a little critique on it.
Will you put your, where they would send that? Will you put that in the chat, Dan?
Yes, I can.
Put your email or your info?
I will do that right now.
Yeah, because that would be a nice asset to have. Dan in your back pocket. Very
okay, good. And www. HOTO.com.
And do you have any workshops or anything else coming up, or where can we see you next?
I kind of got COVIDed on the workshops. I'll probably do. I may put on an overnight in Morro Bay sometime this fall. I've done a couple up in, I've done several up in Big Sur, which is fun. It's a hard place to shoot, but it's a fun place. And I'm ready to go. I've got another itinerary for both Bolivia and Namibia there, but I'm going to wait till the world calms down a little bit. And
do you post those opportunities on your website if people are interested?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Absolutely will.
Okay.
It's a new website, so it's not completely up to date yet. I'll add more stuff as we go on. So
cool. All right, you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so anybody else, any last questions? Now, speak now. I think every time we do one of these, I feel like our brains are going to explode. Sorry, Paul, go ahead.
Yeah, just you were saying you had like your 16 millimeters, your smallest. Do you ever find a need to get a smaller?
Oh yeah, I'm tempted for a 14, but then I got the issue of buying a lot more gear so I can put a grad or a polarizer on it. Actually, polarizer is not going to work on a 14, but to use a grad on a 14, and it's just more stuff to carry. Right. So I am tempted to get a 14, but haven't yet.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried that, the smaller you go, the more you have to worry about curvature and just the bending. And I'm like, I'd rather just get my regular lens and just take, many pictures and put them together.
Yeah, that's one thing I do like, and I talk about it. I've got to talk about surrealscapes, which are really pretty fun. Is I like the distortion you get in a wide angle lens. It creates to me a visual tension because your eye doesn't see that. So we're taking this much and squeezing it into an image, and it creates this kind of cool distortion, which I think to me is some of the magic of a wide angle lens. So, and I don't get that when I'm doing, a multiple panorama at say 80 instead of shooting wide at 16. So I do have a 108 Sigma macro that I really do like. And I use that for macro.
So how do you decide which lens you want to use? Do you have an idea when you're looking at the scene and you can visualize it and you think, oh, I'm going to pick this one, or I'm going to go this, I want to do 80, or I want to do 60.
Oh, yeah.
How do you decide?
It's pretty simple between the two lenses. If I want to go wide, if there's a great sky and I've got some really cool foreground and lots of stuff happening in the sky, boy, the 16 goes on. And I will end up tending to zoom it to 16 because it does this crazy cool stuff with the sky. I love compressing all those clouds into the image. And then when I see the big blue polarizer streak in the middle, I go, oh crap, I can't shoot at 16. I go out to about 30 or 40. And then with the big lens at 28-300, I'm zooming in, zooming out, composing as I look through the lens. And I know Guy Tal and some other folks really like to compose just looking without the camera. I kind of like composing through the lens. And so I can zoom in and see patterns, or I can zoom out and get wide. So that's kind of the cool thing of zooms and just having two. It makes my decisions much easier.
That makes sense.
Your Canon, you said your Canon, Dan?
What's that?
You said you're shooting Canon?
Yeah, I'm Canon.
Okay.
And haven't done, I'm also cheap. So I get a lot of use out of my equipment, don't carry a whole lot. So I haven't done the mirrorless thing, partially because I'm cheap, partially because I love the 5D4. It's really an adaptable camera. And the three things, battery life, dust on a sensor, and I'm not a huge fan yet of electronic viewfinders. So I'm still, I'm a little bit of a dinosaur. I like my 5D4.
You can turn the electronic viewfinder off?
You're still not looking through the mirror, but it's pretty awesome. But I'm using live view more on the back of my camera to compose sometimes, but I also like the ability to just pull this big black thing up in front of my face, and all I'm seeing is the image. Instead of this with the phone, where I'm seeing gobs and gobs and gobs of stuff, and for me it's hard to edit. But here, all I'm seeing is black and the photo. But it's kind of the way I work.
Cool. All right, you guys, it's 8:25. So I'm going to wrap it up. And thank you again, Dan, for sharing with us. Thank you, everybody, for coming to our meeting. Be watching your emails for what we're going to be doing in September. I honestly don't know if our next meeting, which our image comp, if it's going to be live in person or if it's going to be on Zoom. I haven't.
It will not be live in person.
Okay. Dan, Dan knows.
Yeah.
Image comp guy. I should have asked you first.
Right.
It's going to be on Zoom, which is so exciting.
We're going to continue on that path until we have a better feel for how the world is going to operate, rather than try and move forward, pull back, move forward, pull back. We're going to continue on a path until we're solid.
That sounds good, especially since it's gone so well to do it online, and we can have different judges from all over, which is wonderful.
I'm liking it. And one thing we've done different now, our last two, is I put all the images on a SmugMug webpage sent those to the judges on Saturday, and the judges were able to go through and score and comment ahead of time. And it saved us a third of the time in the actual competition. And then we were able to get all 3 judges to critique. So it's worked out well.
All right, cool. Okay, well,
okay.
Awesome. Get your images ready. And yeah.
Really enjoying the chats here. Thank you all for the comments.
Okay, I'm going to turn off our recording so I won't forget. And